The D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley news is coming up. We'll talk about the Kevin Durant trade at some point, as KD just got moved to the Suns. Pray for content creators in these times of trade deadline madness, but we still have to honor the greatest scorer ever and one of the greatest passers ever in LeBron James. It's not mentioned enough that LeBron's the only player in NBA history to be top 10 in both points and assists, let alone be top 5 in those categories. Again, Westbrook trade is coming up, but what went down on Tuesday couldn't not be talked about on this channel. Bringing the undermentioned James family onto the court after setting the record, this was truly an amazing night. Credit to Gloria James for raising this man into what he ultimately became, which is beyond iconic on and off the court, based off the speech made by Savannah and how Zuri, Bronny, and Bryce were interacting with Pops, at least from what I could tell from the clips, which isn't much to be fair. The household supporting cast for LeBron is evidently the most important contributor to his success. How the game stopped completely and how the big screen at Crypto Arena aired to everyone in the world, how Adam Silver immediately appeared like it was 2K to allow Kareem to honor LeBron, it all felt like a storybook yet very necessary moment. This night in LA lived up to expectations and then some. It was a once-in-a-lifetime night if you missed it. If you watched it all go down, even if you witnessed it in the flesh, let's talk about it. First and foremost, we have to stop in our tracks to give a shout out, and I mean that in the highest regard, to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, especially for being there firsthand. You could tell he was respectfully rooting against LeBron to set the record, as anyone would. Throughout Kareem's entire legendary career, where he achieved 19 All-Star appearances, made 15 All-NBA teams, won 4 block championships, and became both a 6-time NBA champion and MVP, obviously, he's more than a prideful individual because of those accomplishments. Therefore, Kareem's inspirational humbleness was on full display on this beautiful night. LeBron's skyhook in the pregame would act as an appropriate foreshadowing. Kareem spoke on LeBron passing him, saying, quote, "I was happy to see someone like LeBron with class and a great work ethic. The example he set is really exceptional. I'm glad that this finally happened. Now he can focus on trying to get his team into the playoffs." Well said right there from Kareem. LeBron's speech was first class after he passed the record, immediately thanking every Laker fan, which is what any fan consistently wants their players and coaches to do, by the way. Then LeBron would inspirationally tell the entire arena to give Kareem a standing ovation. The passing of the torch was again perfectly sentimental. We'll never witness anyone like LeBron James ever again. LBJ is the most well-rounded athlete not just basketball has ever seen, but all of sports has ever seen. Maybe not just physically, but mentally in terms of how he stays in the moment and can manipulate opponents due to a genius basketball IQ. Staying on topic though, and LeBron broke the scoring record in 26 minutes. He scored 36 points in that short of a span, like a man possessed. Now the all-time leader in both total points in the playoffs and after passing the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the regular season, as Spittin' Facts Stan Van Gundy pointed out. With the eyes of the basketball universe squarely directed at him, LeBron's unmatched mix of dominant perimeter shooting and slashing stole the show, even in an L. But now he won't have to deal with Westbrook setting up former all-time scoring leader Kareem with passes to the sidelines out of bounds, with all due respect to Brody. We'll get into that. Because of this sorry Lakers supporting cast for the past few years, with AD not being his same self post-injury, Bron has, in the meantime, not received nearly enough respect in terms of the percentage of people who call him the greatest ever, as opposed to Michael Jordan. As I'll repeat, he's top 5 in both points and dimes, which gives him a really solid GOAT argument when you also factor in the amount of conference and NBA championships he's won. The longevity standpoint is also an argument. No one in hoops history has ever been this good for this long. OKC deserves credit for bouncing back from their loss to Golden State with a really good win, but let's look at how LeBron proved he still might be the best player on earth. In terms of this game against OKC in particular, casuals are going to claim LeBron got way too many calls early on, and the refs wanted him to break the record. And while that seems like an easy conclusion to come to on the surface, ladies and gentlemen, if you're too young or just haven't already met a motivated LeBron who's relentlessly putting his head down like the prime 2013 Miami Heat version of himself, or the guy who destroyed my Toronto Raptors year after year, then you were just introduced to how devastating this man is in terms of trying to hold in check on a line drive. If it was truly rigged, they wouldn't have called that charge against LeBron in the early third. That could have gone either way. I thought it was a perfectly officiated game, by the way, and a really crucial one for Zach Zarba, Sayush Mehta, and typically on point, Natalie Sago. In terms of LeBron, known as a freight train, there's been a disgusting narrative that's carried around the association that he's merely washed up and isn't even a top 5 to 10 player anymore. After what we just saw on an extremely big stage, LeBron is still shockingly spry for a 38-year-old, despite all the vicious mileage he's racked up, consisting of winning 8 straight conference titles last decade, torturing myself. Still, despite the aforementioned gross narrative claiming he's the washed king, the athletic phenom in James, with his 6'9", 250-pound frame of strictly muscle, with a training regimen and diet and body maintenance that's defied physics, showed he's evidently still very much at the top of his game, or at least he can be on nights where he's motivated to pass the never-to-be-forgotten Kareem, who is sitting directly under the basket. Good to see the now 75-year-old legend, whose story will forever be told, seem to be in good condition, by the way. Back to the man who just shattered a debatable GOAT in Kareem's record, though, in another debatable GOAT, LeBron James. I'm predicting LeBron will be motivated like that on a nightly basis throughout the entire second half of the season, because the floor spacing of D'Angelo Russell, and hopefully also better decision-making than Westbrook of deloading, will make things easier on James mentally. About to make a debut for his second tenure in purple and gold, D'Angelo will be a breath of fresh air for this Lakers system. D'Angelo's true shooting percentage is 11% better than Westbrook's. D'Angelo's 73rd among all players in assist-to-turnover ratio, not too far behind newest Maverick Kyrie Irving. Westbrook was 94th in assist-to-turnover ratio. Don't forget the Lakers also got an extremely underrated wing defender from the Jazz in Jared Vanderbilt, who along with Rui Hachimura has significantly upgraded this Laker defense over the last few weeks. Regarding the winners of this 3-team deal between Utah, Minnesota, and LA, Minnesota gets 2 really nice rotation pieces to help them get into a playoff spot with veteran Mike Conley and the rising Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I'd say the Jazz did pretty decent in this trade, getting a top 4 protected first rounder. I'd say this was a win-win-win 3-way trade, but making this ultimately the biggest win for LA is the fact they needed as much shooting as they could get and were able to acquire the streaky J.R. Smith-esque Malik Beasley. Beasley is only shooting 36% from deep, but he's going to get a lot more space in LA. All in all, after a record-breaking night, which we're about to get back to in a few seconds, the news of Rob Pelinka trading for 3 complementary weapons was almost Genie and Rob's way of saying we're sorry while paying homage to the king with a great business decision. Here's something that made this record insane though, at least according to whoever voted in my community poll during the game. In the second quarter, it was 50-50 between whether or not LeBron was going to break the record when there were 26 points separating he and Kareem. As much as we rightfully obsess about Steph Curry on this channel, and obviously for good reason, it says a lot that despite the stan of Steph that I am, and many other fans of this channel are, that I currently have LeBron James ahead of Steph on my all-time player ranking. I'm sure a lot of fans of Stephen Curry would agree with that. Who's the all-time best is obviously subjective though, and ever-changing. Who's the greatest ever in your opinion? We'll rarely skip Community Speaks for a 3rd straight time, but next vid, I'll give 3 shoutouts from my last upload, the previous upload before that, and this one, I promise you. Congrats to King James and family. Happy trade season. Thanks for watching.